And from here, so like, if we're looking day three, who is your like Evan Williams from 2 years ago? Like, the average fan is like, I had not heard that name, thought of that name, thought he would go to the Packers name, but as I watch more film in the month after the draft, it's like this. It's the young Frankenstein, Gene Wilder looking at the camera. This could work, kind of thing.
Yeah. There are a couple excuse me, names like that can rush the passer that I don't think would necessarily fit the Evan Williams criterion. But to answer your question, I feel like it's Zane Durant from Penn State. That would be my guess at this point, because it's kind of a perfect storm a little bit where, yes, he's a little undersized. And so that's, I think he measured at the Senior Bowl and he's, I think, in the 280s. So, but if you trust any school to kind of get the level of, like, get your athleticism, strength up and still have the athleticism when you add a bunch of weight, I feel like Penn State's going to be up there, right, in terms of teams I would trust to do that. What was he? Oh, no, 290. So 6'0" and 7/8, 290 at the Senior Bowl. And he had a perfect storm being better 2024 than 2025. We've seen that before with some certain receivers in the 2023 draft. And if they're looking for a guy who can be this tremendous athlete who's going to rush the passer at a high level, right? You stick him kind of outside the guard's shoulder and let him attack. And you feel comfortable with the group you have on early downs, and you go, okay, cool. Parsons, Wyatt, Durant, Van Ness, get out there on third down and go attack. And yeah, he kind of fits that bill as this guy who can cross the face of offensive linemen with ease. He's flexible turning the corner. And just again, when you have a guy who can jump with that first step explosiveness to kind of get guys off balance and get them in kind of recovery mode immediately, that's the type of player I imagine that they would go, okay, if we can just get him to use kind of, again, we talk about the guys that are shorter, the natural leverage that you can kind of play with, because we've seen the cross chop. We've seen you work inside move and smash into centers, right? Like he is kind of the epitome of like disruption and what you're going to get there. And you saw some of those kind of flashes at the Senior Bowl of him. There's one where he pretty much does just that. They have him in the one-on-ones. He's right opposite the guard. He's going to attack half of him, and he just cross chops perfectly. And no wasted movement. Feet are still moving. He's still explosive. And it's like, okay, you want a guy who can turn the corner like that. And people be like, oh, he didn't have that many pressures this past year, right? They're combing through all of that stuff. And then you go back to like 2024 and you go, oh, okay. So we're putting, we're stacking a lot better games. Yeah, I think he had a really good game against Ohio State and Washington. And so games where he was kind of wreaking havoc. And if you could rein in that a little bit, then you start to kind of put together, I think, a guy who, you put in that, because I think Gannon would preferably like a rotation, right? Kind of what they had in Philly of, okay, we can get second team out there. We can get line two out there, whatever you want to, whatever other sports analogy you want to use about that second group. Oh, he can come with that second group and get after the QB. That would probably fall into that. I think he's like PFF 200s somewhere right now, and probably equally as far down the consensus board as well. Like he just feels like a pass rush type